basement to the rectory where the bathroom is by themselves, like an adult should go with them. And if you're working with a big group and you feel like you can't leave the group, then like ask Carlos, ask me, ask Angelo, go find their mom, or ask us to find their mom. But they really shouldn't be going like out onto 145th Street alone and then like up into the rectory alone. Just not that anything would happen, but it, just to be extra careful, they should be going in the company of an adult. Kids get the 3 minutes of mandatory break at 7. So, and there's a little cheer that goes with that. It's very complicated. Carlos, how does it go?
What time is it?
It's 7 o'clock.
What time is it?
It's time for a break. Yeah. So. In terms of just the way you speak, like use the language and the tone you want kids to be using, and I think tone is a more obvious one where you shouldn't be yelling. You should be speaking in a respectful and like adult tone of voice. But in terms of language, I think this is a great opportunity for us to talk about pushing vocabulary. Like don't be afraid to use sophisticated vocabulary. Like the more we're opening.
Be distracted, and it's no way possible for students to maintain focus on their homework without some support from adults and stepping in like, okay, let's make sure we're focusing on our homework or addressing those minor misbehaviors which can slide, but which are really important to address and not letting anything slide. And it's also hard to do this, especially working with more than one student or working with 2 students, because sometimes the students may feel overwhelmed by addressing all these problems all at once, especially when you're doing more than with one student. So what I want you guys to do right now is take a moment and think about your time at Masa and how, if you have ever let a student misbehavior slide because you were too busy to deal with it, or because you weren't sure of what to do. I want you guys to think about maybe if that has encountered so far. I want you guys to think about it, and you guys have space on that box to sort of jot down notes about it.
And you don't have to take notes. That's just there.
It's just there.
I'm like a very kind of person where I need to write everything down. But yeah, so if you guys have encountered that before, or in terms of like creating a more like dialogue-y relationship with the student, and it gives a student direction, like especially for younger students who are just like aren't necessarily always sure what they're supposed to be doing, like they're just sort of like in their own little universe, right? Like if you say, instead of saying don't be mean, saying please use respectful language or whatever, like that gives them some direction for like what to do as an alternative. Don't run doesn't explicitly provide an alternative. Don't do that doesn't explicitly tell you what to do instead. So that's why, to the extent you can avoid the don'ts, avoid the don'ts. So don't. And then just sort of when you're talking with kids about like not great behavior or not ideal behavior, some like guidelines, like using your inside voice. And this can be a challenge. Masa kids are, I think in my view, tend to be pretty easy, but anyone, especially if you're at work all day, you're tired, like you've got a day, covered, I don't know. But like keep it under control, like use your inside voice, stay calm, stay polite. This goes back to modeling positive behavior, like act the way you expect kids to act. Like no more than one. There's some selection guides, right? And then if you find that she's really struggling through certain words, you can be like, you know what, I think for today, like this doesn't seem like it's going to be the best book for you. Let's find something that's that's a better fit. And there can be some pushback on that. I know, like some kids will be like, but I really want to read the book about cars. It's super important that we all be cognizant, like Carlos and I included, but like all of the moms and dads who come to Masa, like they're dealing with the stress of navigating like a super complex bureaucracy. The Department of Education is like incredibly dense and hard to understand, and like the schools really vary in the level of services they offer to families that like non-English speakers. Like I'm sure you've seen stuff come home and like just in English. It's like, well, this is like kind of useless, right? But so they're dealing with a super stressful system, a system that is stressful for anyone. And for the most part, they're navigating it in an unfamiliar language and like in an unfamiliar culture. Like I don't think any of the parents at Masa have gone to attended like an educational institution in the United States. So like they have no context for it, right? A lot of the times. And then like they're all obviously like they come to Masa, they stay there for the 2 hours, like they don't go grocery shopping or whatever, like they're super committed to their kids' education. So like all of this is coming from, even if it feels pushy or like counterproductive, like it's coming from this really great place, right? So and like also like they're the kids' parents, and like ultimately like we're the parents' partners, right? Like we're not calling the shots in their kids' education. Like we're working with the parents to like achieve this goal of advancing the achievement of our students. So I just wanted to make sure like we're laying that out explicitly. Like it's not like Masa versus parents. Like it's exactly the opposite. It's like Masa and parents helping students, but like we're not always on the same page. After we do the whole thing, like we just need to make sure like we're figuring out a way to work collaboratively towards that goal. But so I think in keeping with that, and Carlos was touching on this earlier, like
So
you need to be able to gauge when intervention is not productive. Like sometimes they'll just come and like check in and then leave, or like Carlos said, like I have seen many moms, especially of younger students, like they'll like hang out on Fridays like at the table while their kid does reading lessons, because it's basic reading, like it's skills the moms want too, like English skills the moms want too, right? So like to the extent that that isn't distracting for the kid, I think that is super fine. Like we should encourage that, right?
when it becomes counterproductive, it's when the mom is there hovering, they're yelling at the student, they are making the student feel nervous, they might cause a breakdown of the student.
that's
Yeah,
what.
but dissolving into tears.
Yeah, that's what we want to.
So we want to nip those situations in the bud, right?
And so if you do see that, when it is counterproductive, if you can't speak Spanish and you feel comfortable speaking with the parent, what you could do is that you can speak diplomatically with the parent with something along the following lines, where it's like, I know you just want to make sure Jonathan is staying focused. I know he's most able to focus when he has some space at the table. So can we just for today try and see how it goes? You be on the other side of the room, and we'll continue working here. That if you're comfortable, again, speaking in Spanish, because most parents say that's the only language they can communicate. And if you can, if you feel comfortable speaking to the parent, by all means go ahead. However, if that is not the case, do speak to me, either me, Angela, or Christina. Christina, again, she deals with the parents. So it would, if you do see some of that, we would really appreciate it for you to let us know, and we will have an action plan to follow up with this sort of behavior that can affect the student's performance at Masa.
Yeah, and so like I don't want any of you guys to feel pushed to like engage in stressful like parental diplomacy. Like if something is happening and you don't know how to deal with it, like you don't have to, but you should let us know so that we can deal with it, right? Like, and I mean, oftentimes like the best person to have this conversation, especially with the moms who have been at Masa for a long time, is Angelo. Like they know Angelo, they trust him, and they take him very seriously. And like quite frankly, if I were them, like I wouldn't take too kindly to me being like, oh, like we really want you across the room today. So like sometimes the right person to have that conversation is going to be not you and not me and like not Carlos, like just because it is going to be Angelo, and that's okay. But like the conversation still has to